Hi, very good morning to you. It's Jim from maverickstar Observatory. I was thinking up a little bit of inspiration as to what to say in this video, but I have got sort of a rough idea of what I want to talk about. I suppose the best thing to do is just thank all those people that have been supporting us in 2021. You know, it's not been easy. I don't know what 2022 is going to be like for us all. It's not just me here at the observatory, but what is it going to be like for us all in this new coming year? I suppose we should say also, big thanks to our superstars that have got our equipment, are in different places around the world, and thank them for another year of success. Really, it has been successful what we've managed to do by collecting this data. And we're not finished by any means in gathering what we can to find out how our Earth's magnetosphere is changing. Big thank you to those that have supported us up until this present time. A big thank you to those that are working with us to help collect the data. And let's hope that next year we can push to get those magnetometers and muon detectors into Russia, Brazil and South Africa. And maybe we'll explore a few avenues to try and raise some more funding for our observatory, maybe from a corporate sector, or people that are interested in funding such observatories as ours. And I can't see why there wouldn't be, given the fact that we're in this critical point in time where the Earth's magnetosphere is going through some major changes. I was over at NASA late last night, not actually at NASA but on their website, because I was looking into David Debine's idea. He seems to think that in the coming years that there's going to be an unusual alignment with some planets, and these planets have large magnetic properties, as far as I can gather. And I was just looking into the nature of the magnetosphere on these other planets that we have in our solar system. NASA are also observing other planets and stars that also have large magnetic fields. I can't see what his angle is at the moment. That's why I'm going to do a little bit more research. He seems to think that when these four planets align in our solar system, that their combined magnetic ability will influence probably our Earth's. The major magnetosphere of all our solar system obviously comes from our sun. And it's not really called a magnetosphere, it's called a heliosphere. And this is like a bubble that inflates over the whole of our solar system. But when we have low solar activity with regards to sunspots and things like that, this heliosphere collapses in on the solar system. And of course we've talked about this a few times at the observatory and what its effects are. So not only does it allow more cosmic radiation in at a point in time which is critical for Earth, we are also going for a magnetic reversal. And therefore, this, I'm sure, is compounded with the amount of cosmic rays that actually come through our magnetosphere here on Earth. And that is our primary defence. And as we continue going into this magnetic reversal, the primary defence will continue to diminish. We could see, when the poles do reverse, multiple poles on our planet. We already have, which is not even mentioned in mainstream media, 4 magnetic poles right now. We have 2 over the northern hemisphere and 2 over the southern hemisphere, but they're very different patterns. I've showed you the images before. One of them is over the Canadian region, and the other one, which is the strongest out of the 2, is over Russia. And although we would presume our magnetic compasses would point to one or the other, it actually points in between the 2, and that's where the dipole is on our planet right now. There's a couple of other planets that don't have magnetospheres. One is Mars and the other one is Venus. And I find it really difficult, when you go over to NASA, how they talk about the core and what creates the magnetospheres on planets like Saturn, Jupiter, Uranus, other large bodies or planets in our solar system. And, I find it really difficult how they know what the composition is of their cores when they very rarely talk about the composition of our own core. And, it's not clear-cut science as to what is actually generating our magnetosphere, so how they can suggest it is how it's being generated on other planets is beyond me, but they seem to have an idea, or they have an explanation. And I was going to show you what I come across today, because they says it wasn't a molten, I think they was talking about Uranus, and they says it wasn't a molten core, but it was a compressed, dense, metallic hydrogen. And for what got me was they're saying it's not a molten core, but they're saying it's a metallic hydrogen condensed matter that sets up the magnetosphere on this Uranus. So what confused me is they was talking about molten, and usually molten, I suppose it can be rock as well, but but they were saying it's a metallic. I can't for the life of me think why hydrogen compressed would have a metallic property. So maybe there's something else there of interest. The reason why I was looking at that was basically because of David Devine's prediction. He seems to think that the combined magnetism of these planets is going to have some effect on ours. Me personally, I think it's worth having a look into it to see if it holds any ground. But me personally, I don't think we need to look at anything more than what we've got on our hands at the moment, because just the magnetic poles reversing on our own planet, without thinking too much like along the lines of blue star Katrina or red star Katrina or Nibiru coming into our solar system, or there's talk also about meteorites or comets that could cause great danger. Of course, you've only got to look at the moon to know that we live in a hostile environment, and we should be thankful that we've got a magnetosphere which is at the strength of around about 80-85% at the moment. It will go down during the magnetic pole reversal. Let's hope it's a fast reversal, because as soon as it goes down it can then likewise come back up. We don't know exactly how long it's going to take for it to go completely down to around about 10, maybe 5% of its normal field strength, but we don't know how long it will take before it comes back up. And we shouldn't take it for granted that is going to happen, because although I mentioned Mars and Venus don't have magnetospheres, Mars certainly did. And we know that because when we sent a spacecraft over the surface of Mars, there was a recent impact crater that they sent the craft over, and it detected a magnetic anomaly. So at one point it certainly had a magnetosphere which was taking care of its atmosphere at that point in time, and certainly of the water on the surface that was there at some point in time. We know the volcanic activity stopped around about, I think it was 500 million years off the top of my head, just guessing there. And the volcano stopped erupting, and that probably was the beginnings of the magnetosphere on Mars shutting down, because its core must have solidified, if we are led to believe that the magneto that generates the magnetosphere is swirling molten core that generates the magnetosphere. It must have solidified, and of course the volcanoes no longer erupting would indicate that was probably what happened. And of course, once the core stalls or stops, the magnetosphere stops, and it no longer generates that protective magnetosphere which stops cosmic rays from our sun, as well as cosmic rays from our outer galaxy coming in and, you know, eroding the atmosphere. And it's a possibility that could be the case. We can't outrule that. And the reason why I say that is because this magnetic reversal can't be compared to any other, for the simple fact it has gone another, half a million years overdue since the planet last went for a reversal. A couple of days ago, we was looking at some of the work done by somebody else, Doug. I think it's at the Diard Foundation. First of all, I think he's a sweet guy, and you probably agree with me on that. He's a nice guy, but you know, we have to, be careful what facts we rely on and examine those facts to see if they are facts. And I don't think what he's claiming, that first, our planet goes for a magnetic reversal, then we get an ice age. I think it was clear with the recent excursions that had shown that had occurred in only the last 100,000 years, was obviously occurring in a point in time where our Earth was going through a glacial period. So, we are, as you guys know now, entering another time where we go back into a glacial period. In my view, it could be hampered by a couple of other anomalies that are taking place, like first of all the Earth's magnetic reversal, secondly the grand solar minimum. We don't seem to have reached equilibrium with that, so it's all hanging there in the balance. And whilst all this is happening, of course, we're witnessing the climate on our Earth do some pretty crazy things. And we could do it every week. Just look at the floods that are taking place and the amount of people that get displaced through either floods, hurricanes like we saw in Kentucky, floods in China, floods in Europe, floods even in the UK. What this is amounting to is it is making it very difficult for farmers to produce the crops that is needed. One thing I will give David Devine for some credit is the fact that he does a good job on showing you guys how the world is slowly but surely creeping offline with regards to arable land that we can get our crops in. We have done some bizarre things and changed the way we do agriculture now. Even in the UK, farmers have been worried for years and years about forcing the ground to produce crops, to the point where you can't grow these crops in some parts of the UK now without adding all these nitrates and potashes and things like that, chemicals to the ground in order for you to get the crops out. What we used to do was something a little bit more natural. We'd have probably a 4-year rotation, and then the land would be left to regenerate itself. But you have to think about what is going on with the husbandry of land as well. And if you are stripping out the minerals through forcing the crops to grow every year, then you're obviously damaging the micro biology of the soil. And once you damage the microbiology of the soil, it becomes really difficult then for that soil to produce anything of any quality. And we're seeing also chemicals now being added to the soil, which also is not good husbandry with regards to the microbes that are managing the soil and keeping it nutrient for crops to grow. So not only are we seeing the weather patterns change on our planet, we're also seeing the behaviour of our methods in which we grow crops in this day and age. And it's not looking good, because we've never had so many people on this planet that demand and require this. And yes, like David Devine says, and Christian over at Ice Age Farmer, we are going to start to see massive famines begin to erupt. One I heard that was starting is over in Afghanistan. I think off the top of my head, I think they're down to about 10% of their population are actually managing to get food, whilst the other 90% are struggling. Not 100% sure on how accurate those figures are, but it is quite alarming. We've only pulled out of Afghanistan in the matter of months, and now there is famine starting. It's not looking good, but it's not just over in Afghanistan. We're starting to see this India, Pakistan, and all over the world, as well as Europe, here in the UK. And it couldn't get any worse, could it? At the moment, there's a shipping problem with regards to available containers. We had Italy, I think, at the beginning of this year, couldn't can the tomatoes, so crops just literally got destroyed because they couldn't be processed and canned. And all these things are amounting to something a lot bigger down the road. So we've got a lot to face. A real disaster is looming, and it's on the cards. There's nothing we can do really about a lot of these things other than try and monitor them, get a feel for what it is we're actually looking to expect and how soon that will be before we're all caught up in something, one of these anomalies. So I suppose we're going to try and do our best here at the observatory. I will always do my best to not bar anybody just because they've got no money from the information. It would be the easy route for me to do that, but I'm not going to, because we're all in this together, and all I can ask is that the support continues, and we'll do whatever we can with the budget that we've got. It's been a terrible year, really, to 2021 for this observatory and for the other things that I've tried to do to try and raise some money. We still haven't heard back from the manufacturers over in Pakistan with regards to the Clydesdale silver generators being manufactured over there. That would have helped us a little bit. I was doing a few extra courses to educate myself in something which has also fell through. So it's frustrating, and there's a couple of other things I want to try and get done in 2022, and I know one of these you're going to really enjoy, and it could be very profitable, but it means that equipment's got to be purchased, some equipment's got to be built. I'm just going to come straight out and tell you what it is, and I know you're going to enjoy just the idea of all this. It's creating man-made laboratory diamonds. You've probably seen the adverts if you're here in the UK of Pandora using laboratory diamonds now in their jewellery. So we wanted to try and get into that. I think it would be a great project. We've got some of the equipment's got to be built. We're talking stainless steel containers. We're using very explosive gases like methane plasmas, hydrogen plasmas. And these things have to run constantly and reliable for around 12 to 16 weeks, I think, and you can at that end of that period of time. So it's got to run 24 hours day and night for that period of time, but you can end up with, at the end of it, probably 15 to 20 3-carat laboratory ground diamonds. And I've been looking into this for a few years now by adding different gases, like by adding boron gas. You can send the diamonds different colours. So in the case of boron, when you add that to the methane, the diamond becomes blue. Obviously, you're weakening the structure of the diamond by adding those gases to get those coloured diamonds. But that's one thing probably we're looking at trying to get online. I think it's going to be the end of the year, to be honest. Because I've got to now concentrate also on setting up, the laser communication. Because that didn't work out too well with the company that we was doing that with, so we've got to do that as well. So I've got tons and tons of work, and on top of this, we're always building different prototypes, and at the moment the 3D printer's down because the printhead snapped when I was taking the brass fitting off the bottom. It snapped the actual thread into the heat block. So we've got to fix that before we can, get the casing built for our atmospheric oxygen sensor. So we've got an enormous amount of things to get through in 2022, as well as, plod on with, collecting the data from our stations around different parts of this world, and, keep tracking of the magnetic North Pole as it migrates over towards Russia. So, there's plenty of things to do, as well as look for some stable funding. So there's a lot to do. The other thing, but just before I end this video, is I just wanted to wish you a real prosperous and happy 2022. I'm personally not feeling too excited about it. I know we're going to see a lot more of what we've seen recently with these catastrophes taking place, people's properties getting wiped out, their livelihoods getting wiped out, and of course, in some cases losing valuable members of their families. We're going to see more of this. Unfortunately, it is going to be the case. So we can do our best to learn, I suppose, as much as we can about this current magnetic pole reversal, and monitor it and record what we get. And we have done a great job. If you go onto the website, poleshiftnews.com, you'll see the archive of data that we've collected over the time. We've done pretty well, guys, and you guys that have supported us up to this point, I just say kudos to you, because if it weren't for you guys putting that little bit of funding in, we wouldn't have stretched it as far as we could here at the observatory and got the data that we have right now. Like I say, I'm not really feeling up to celebrating tonight. Probably get a couple of drinks in and sit there watching a film with, the missus. So I don't know what you tell me what you're planning on doing. I might have a few nibbles, some nuts and crisps, maybe a corned beef sandwich or something like that. I don't know, but I'm just not feeling too enthusiastic about 2022. Tell me what your thoughts are, and of course, if you want to help support us, there's a link down there. Okay, we didn't clear the deficit, but we cleared some of it. We didn't clear half of it, but we cleared some of it. So we have to be optimistic about it. Maybe in the new year we can do a little bit more with that. So from the maverickstar Observatory, and I'm sure I speak for all our superstars in different countries, we wish you a merry and happy and prosperous new year, and we hope that you are all with us next year as we continue to discover more about this rare anomaly that our planet is actually going through, and is obviously the root of all these climatic changes that we're seeing. So have a good one, take care of your family, and as always, bye for now.